All right, today we are going to look at section 4 of chapter 1 called Health Risks and Your Behavior. All right, we're going to actually get into where you actually have to stop and think a little bit before you do stuff. Okay, things that this chapter or section really starts to point out with is that different risk and what risk behaviors are. Okay, obviously all of us know what the word risks means, and within that, just by definition, it's a chance that some harm may happen to your health. Okay, it's a very simple definition, but it's a very true definition. All right. Um, Everything you do in life carries some risk, okay? This is where we talk about a bunch of different things. It's like every time you get in a car, there's a 1 in 20 chance or 1 in 50 chance you're going to be in a car accident every time you get in, okay? There's the risk in life. 1 in every 10,000 people that get on, or 1 in every 10,000 flights in the world is going to end up in a crash landing. It's a chance. Chances aren't very good, but doesn't mean that it can't do it. It means you could be outside playing on a sunny day and still get struck by lightning. I think the chances are like 1 in 200 million or something like that. It can happen, but that's just everything in life carries some risks. It's just, as this next line is going to say it, some choices just carry more than others. All right, and being aware of which ones carries more than others makes us realize that what we're actually potentially could be doing to ourselves. All right. Risk behavior is considered action and choices that may harm you or others. All right. And at your age, it's often easy to think about yourself, but when you sometimes make a choice, you often have to think about how is this going to affect everyone else. All right. Teenagers being what you are. Oftentimes, teenagers make a decision and without failing to realize the reflection it may have upon their parents, their teachers, their coaches, whatever it may be. So instead of just harming you, now it's harming other people too. And that's one of the big things with risk behavior is that it doesn't just affect you, it affects everyone else around you. Risks and consequences. Obviously, with every risk, there comes a consequence. Consequences are results of actions, okay? Now, we've all heard the word consequences quite regularly. The one thing I want to point out about consequences are not always negative. And your actions are going to result in what you choose to make of them, all right? The way I think of it is this. It's just no difference. You can say, okay, I didn't study last night for this test. Well, you know what the consequence is going to be. If you study for the test, does that mean you're guaranteed a good grade? No. The consequence is you might not get as bad of a grade if you didn't study, all right? Those are just kind of ways consequences work, all right? Consequences can be both positive and negative. Obviously, in the sense we're talking about right now is going to be more of the negative action, all right? Teens and risk. Most teens know the difference between what a normal risk is and high risk behavior, okay? What I mean by this is at your age, at this point in time, you know the difference between if something's right to do or wrong to do, okay? If somebody asks you to go jump on a bike and drive down the street 2 blocks without a helmet on, it's not saying it's a safe risk, but it's a pretty mild risk compared to what other things you can do versus, hey, let's take your parents' keys and go for a joyride, okay? None of you are old enough to have driver's license, so obviously it's a bigger risk. And here where we say with the consequences, you could also hurt someone besides you or your friend or some innocent person who might be walking down the street or even someone else driving down the street, all right? These are the difference between, the difference between what a normal risk is and what a high risk is. Most teens also know the benefits that come with certain risks, okay? We talk about risks. We're not talking just about, like we say, like drugs, alcohol, things like that. We're also talking about simple things, okay? If you decide to participate in, we'll say use volleyball for example, all right? And you decide not to buy knee pads, well, guess what? You know the risk you're taking that your knees are probably going to be marked up, black and blue, probably have a lack of skin on them by the time it's done. These are risks that you know you are taking, and this is where you basically are old enough to know better. Now, how do risks add up? This is what we're going to call cumulative risk. Cumulative meaning just that. One risk on top of another risk to increase the risk, okay? This is a good example right here that I give you. You know you got a test the next day, so you don't study, you don't go to bed at a good time, and you don't eat breakfast in the morning. So at 10 o'clock when you're taking that test, you're tired, you're out of it. Don't care if you take the test or not. Your stomach's growling, you'd rather be eating food. Okay, all those things put together probably means that your risk of doing pretty poorly on the test are pretty good, okay? The book does a good example on this one. It's like if you're riding bike at night with no helmet on and no reflective gear, all those things put together probably means you're going to get hit by a car, all right? And I don't know about you guys, but I don't want to get hit by a car if I'm on a bicycle, and I don't like my chance of surviving that crash. Is it worth the risk? A lot of, like we said, activities or choices. Is the activity or choice worth the consequence? Sports. Anytime you play a sport, you are taking a risk that you are going to get hurt. We all know this. We all know that when we sign up for it, that there's a chance you're going to get hurt. Now, is the physical activity and the lifelong benefits from it sometimes worth it? Yeah. At some time, if you decide they're not worth it, that's when people choose not to participate anymore, all right? School. You know, it is a choice to come to school at a certain point in time. Is it worth the consequence of not coming to school, okay? The best example I can give here is a person that decides not to come to school and finish high school. They say typically is signing away $1 million in their lifetime, all right? Just by finishing school, you're guaranteeing yourself, not saying guaranteeing, but I should say you're increasing the chances that you're going to make $1 million more than a person who doesn't finish high school. The risk within your choices that you make within your daily activities, okay? This is where you can choose to ride your bike with a helmet on, or wear your seatbelt in a car. You know, be honest with your parents. Tell your parents what you're doing. Yes, I want to stay over at my friend's house. Is that okay? You know, and then actually go to that friend's house to spend the night. Because I know there's situations where people say they're going to one friend's house and go to another friend's house, and we know people don't make good choices after that at times. Okay, so it's really the choice of what can you do to. Is the choice worth the consequence? All right. To come along with that choice is prevention, all right? Prevention is what you can do to reduce the risks, okay? One of the biggest forms of preventing risk is the word abstinence. Abstinence is the choice not to participate in high-risk behaviors, all right? And a lot of people often think that this refers just to one thing, and that's sex, and it's not. It actually is anything that is high-risk behavior. It could be doing drugs, riding out a convertible with the roof down, setting up in a convertible with the roof down, going down the highway at 50 miles an hour. Probably not a safe idea, all right? Just a bunch of ideas like that. It's not just one thing, okay? This choice can greatly reduce your chances of something bad happening, okay? And some of those bad things could be, and we will talk about some of those choices. Smoking. Smoking can cause cancer and emphysema, all right? Neither one of them's fun, and both of them are usually pretty much life-threatening. Okay, by choosing not to smoke, you're saying I'm going to reduce the chances of something bad happening to me from this, all right? And understand when I say this, there's no guarantee that you still might not get lung cancer or emphysema from not smoking. It has been known to happen to both. Drinking. Drinking often leads to liver disease or cirrhosis of the liver. Also, loss of inhibition. Loss of inhibition means loss of the thinking skills to maybe stop you from doing something you normally wouldn't. Often referring to things where people end up sleeping with somebody they have no intention of ever sleeping with, all right? Those are just some of the choices on that one. Drugs. Drugs is another thing that they talk about where something bad can happen, all right? We had the BCI here not too long ago. They talked about how possibly jail time or addiction, and maybe never being able to kick that addiction, and basically eventually leading to somebody being 6 feet underground, all right, and death. Those are some of the things you got to be aware of if you actually participate in some things. Sex. Sex is one of the things that if we're abstinent from. If you don't have sex, you don't have to worry about having pregnancy issues, all right? Yes, it takes two to tango. I'm not saying it's just one person's fault. It's both people's fault. Both people have to be smart enough to say, yeah, this is not for us until you're ready or until you're ready and of age. And then even come along with sex, you have such things called STDs, all right? STDs are very scary. Most of you, if you saw pictures of them, would run and hide, all right? And these things don't go away usually. They last a lifetime, and that'd be a fun thing to have to explain to a significant other someday on why you have them, all right? So here's my little speech on risk behaviors, all right? If you have any questions, ask. There's a lot in here actually, and I kind of put it together pretty quickly. However, now that this is the last section of the chapter, looking forward, today, our next class period after this one will be a review session, and the one after that will be a testing session, okay? So be aware of that. We will also be getting the short answer questions and the essay questions to you shortly so that you may prepare for those as well. Thank you. Have a good day.